Ajnana-timirandasya jnana-jana-shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Gurudev. Good morning. So today's reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam is from Canto 11. It's chapter 21 and it's verse 18. Yato yato nivarteta vimuccheta tatastataha esha dharmo nirnam kshema shoka moha bhayapaha. By refraining from a particularly sinful or materialistic activity, one becomes freed from its bondage. Such renunciation is the basis of religious and auspicious life for human beings and drives away all suffering, illusion, and fear. So this is a verse from the Uddhava Gita. Again, it's the portion at the end of the Bhagavatam, at the end of Krishna's incarnation, when he's speaking to his dear friend Uddhava and giving some last instructions. And he speaks about many things in that Uddhava Gita. He methodically goes through what is the Vedic lifestyle, what is the ideal lifestyle that he is proposing, what are the methods by which one can attain the liberation that he is proposing for us, etc., etc. There are many. He's quite comprehensive in making sure that the solution to life's problems have been clearly understood. Okay? And so here in this verse, it's something extremely basic and extremely obvious and yet often missed. He basically says, paraphrasing, if you stop doing things you shouldn't be doing, you'll be free. What does that mean? Well, there are, in very basic terms, two different categories of behavior. There is what we deem as righteous behavior and there's what we deem as unrighteous behavior. There is sort of pious activity and there is sinful activity, right? And the Shastras speak of this. We speak of dharma, we speak of adharma. So if it is dharmic to be truthful, it is adharmic to tell lies, right? If it is dharmic to share and be giving and forgiving, then it is adharmic to hold grudges and to not share and to be selfish and etc., etc. So there's a quite clear separation between behaviors that are good for us and intended for us and behaviors that are not. But then there's a further distinction that's added, especially in the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is explaining essentially that actually we are not the owners of our own bodies, and therefore we are not the owners, the proprietors of the body's activities. Actually, God is. And so in that sense, the right way of behaving is to do everything as an offering unto God. Everything as a service to God. So this is like an evolved form of karma yoga. So he says karma yoga is to not be attached to what you're doing. Fine. But better than that is to not only not be attached, but offer it to God. So don't just sort of discard it in a sense of detachment. Take it and offer it to your beloved, to the one to which we all are part of, etc., etc. And this is the fundamentals of bhakti yoga. But he also, it's clearly understood, it's clearly implied that we don't offer our bad behavior to God. You don't want to offer him something that's not nice, so to speak. So it's not like I'm going to be robbing a bank and saying, I'm doing it for you, Krishna. I mean, it may be he doesn't like the bank owners and he would enjoy them to go through some kind of difficulty. But by basic principle, it's not recommended that we offer our adharmic behaviors and actions to God as a devotional act, because he is not a neutral principle that is just there to soak up whatever is offered. He's actually a person. And as a person, we are trying to cultivate a relationship with that person. And it makes no sense to offer a person you're trying to cultivate a relationship with something negative that they don't actually want or like. If I'm trying to cultivate a relationship with Guruji and I say, Guruji, I'm going to offer to you whatever I cook. Well, it better be something nice that I cook, because if I cook something awful and just say, well, here it is, and he eats it and it tastes disgusting, then he's not going to be like, oh, wow, you are amazing, I love you. Getting closer, yeah? So it's by the same principle, something as basic as that applies as a general principle in our life. So what do we do with those behaviors that are not to be offered to God, which are not deemed as dharmic or pious or righteous, etc., etc.? What do we do with them? And so Krishna is telling Uddhava, refrain from doing them. Again, as basic as that is, just don't do them. That which you should be doing, your duty, do it as a service unto me. That which you should not be doing, don't do it. And so, you see, often then people say, oh, but you know, I have these habits and I have patterns. I have difficulty in letting go of those behaviors. What should I do to stop? And what's quite amazing is that most of the time I've heard Guruji be asked these type of questions, especially for support. Can you help me to stop to do something like this? Surely he may be helping on a spiritual, sort of invisible level. But on a practical level, you know what his answer usually is? Well, if you don't want to do it, then just stop doing it. And again, it sounds basic and maybe even unhelpful, but it's actually just the truth. There is no magic trick. There is no technique. There is no red pill that you swallow and your bad habits disappear. There is only the strength of your wish to not do those things. And if you don't actually not want to do those things, then you'll never actually stop to do those things. But you have to go about it in a smart and intelligent way. And to do that, you have to understand what the roles of samskaras play in behavioral patterns. So I'll give you an example. Somebody wants to stop smoking, right? There are people who try to do it in one go, they just stop, and there's people who try to stop gradually. Guruji's been asked before, what is your opinion on that? He says, if you want to stop, why do it gradually? If you want to stop, then that means you stop. Gradually means I still want to do it, just less. But this is what we tell our mind. Maybe it will be easier if I just do it less. He's like, well, no, it won't. Because it's a habit that's so ingrained, even doing it once reinforces the habit. It keeps that alive inside of your being, inside of your mentality, inside of everything. Which is why he's often so strict, especially with the residents, to not do certain things he's asked us not to do, because even doing it once, although we may see it as harmless, he thinks that is going to activate a series of latent, sort of dormant samskaras and habits and thought patterns that you're not seeing, but I understand to be there. And so, as basic as the instruction is to simply not do something that you don't want to, you have to understand that it's not only don't do it, it's don't put yourself in the situations and scenarios in which you would ordinarily do it. Because those things amplify the likelihood that you will do that which you are trying to stop. I was talking to one of my friends not so long ago, and he mentioned to me how he visited a particular place that he used to spend a lot of time with before he moved to the ashram. And he went there for spiritual purposes. He went there to do a spiritual program. It wasn't like he was going there for any other reason. But despite going there for a spiritual program and with a different lifestyle and different mentality, he told me it was amazing. Just seeing the same places I used to go, the flood of memories returned, and the temptation to actually go and do certain things was like, from one moment to the next, boom, huge. And he said to me, should I have not gone to that place? I said, well, there's no answer to that except your own. You know the answer to that. I can't tell you. You have to know your own strength. You have to know your own attachment to these things. Nobody can tell you these things. It is your own wisdom to apply your common sense and your understanding of spirituality to your own life circumstances. But to ignore that this is a factor, to ignore that these things can potentially take you down a road you don't want to go, that's naive. It's foolish. We often see ourselves as being more safe and more advanced than we really are. I cannot tell you the number of times Guruji has reminded me, look, just because you are who you are and you're in this ashram and you have the life you have, it should not make you any less afraid of Maya. Because Maya is able to tempt you or able to present itself to you in ways that you cannot even imagine. And so to sit here and think, I am unconquerable, I can do all kinds of things because I will not be tempted, Guruji just doesn't agree. And so one of the most recent things, the Prabhus, we enjoy to play football, especially when the weather's good, right? Problem is, the football pitch down in the village is awful. It's very bumpy, you know, it's not like a nice flat surface. And I don't know if you've noticed, but many of the residents of this ashram are not particularly fit to varying degrees, right? So some are not fit, but they're still somehow in a physically good condition. They just don't do much exercise, and some are just eating a lot of prasad. Let's put it like this, right? And so when you do this, combined with this uneven floor of the pitch, what is amazing is that the chances of injury increase a lot. Yeah, knees, ankles, backs, etc., etc. I mean, we've never expected this, but you know, it's quite logical. And lo and behold, almost every time we go and play, somebody comes back injured. Yeah? And then you see some guy walking around in some crutches, or somebody's walking around with some bandages around their ankles or whatever. And then Guruji sees this and he's like, what's wrong with you? Oh, I hurt myself. Doing what? Playing football. Ah, idiot. Because now the seva's affected, can't do what they were doing before because the seva required some kind of physical ability, and now you're on crutches. So now we have to find you a new seva because you went and played football for half an hour, right? And so what did he do? He said, I, from now on, ban football. Nobody's allowed to play because I'm sick and tired of these injuries. And if you go and play, then I will injure you for you. You don't have to, the floor doesn't have to injure you. I will personally injure you. You don't go, right? So, okay. Announcement was made. We have a Telegram group for football. The announcement was made. No more football. Everybody very sad, but of course, nobody says they're sad. You just feel it, yeah? Because you cannot be in opposition to Guruji's wishes. You have to be like, of course, what a wise decision. But internally, okay. I even had couple of people ask me, Swami, you think enough time has passed that we can go again? You mean 3 weeks? So I was with Guruji when this decision was made. He wasn't in the ashram. And he said to me, I'm very happy that I banned football. He was reflecting. Like on a different occasion, we were just driving somewhere and we were talking about something and there was a bhajan playing, and then out of nowhere, he just brings up this topic like he was thinking about it. I'm very happy I banned football. I said, Guruji, sure. And he says, because you know, it's not a good thing, this football business. I said, yeah. Because it's not just the injuries. You know, the injuries, okay, yes, you're all just fatzos and whatever, but it's not so much this. It's the mentality you all have when you step foot on that pitch. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you go into this mentality of competition, of wanting to be better than the other one, of wanting to beat the other one, of wanting to win, which is all very normal things in the world of sport. There's nothing weird about that. But his point was, you think that those attitudes and mentalities don't come with you when you leave the pitch? And I said, well, Guruji, normally experienced sports players, they don't. You know, they just leave it all on the pitch. And he looked at me and said, you know, you think I'm stupid? And he was right, because I even remember different Prabhus who had issues with each other simply because of football matters down in the village. Yeah, they tackled me and I didn't like it. or they didn't pass the ball to me enough, so now I don't like this person. They're now in my black book, right? For the rest of the life situations, not just on the football pitch, right? Just in general, you're now a bad person. You don't pass the ball enough. I don't like you, right? And this type of thing is what I mean by we think there's something harmless. We think we're going to do something completely innocent, which is in many ways true. But what he is seeing is all the potential problems that can arise from something you don't need to be doing that may bring you backwards in something that you do need to progress in, which is your spirituality. And so although for us it may seem harsh, and it may seem strict, and it may seem restrictive, he's just looking at it as, what can I advise you that will just make it less likely that you mess up? And if I can stop you from doing something that you don't need to be doing, and at the same time help you, why wouldn't I? And so for that reason, he's sitting there going, I'm very happy that I just, banned football. So when it comes to the biggest problem we have, this verse is talking about avoid to do sinful things, avoid to do unrighteous things, whatever. Let me just make an assumption here, that the majority of the people in this room, the problem we have is not that we can't stop murdering people. The problem that we have is that we can't stop robbing banks. Or that the problem that we have is that we can't stop, cheating on everyone and everything. I don't think that we are that level of sinful people. If there is a serial killer among us, obviously this does not apply to you. Now, what I do think we are usually engaging with that we shouldn't is negative thinking. I think that we're all guilty of. Yeah? Judgments, be it in speech, but at the very minimum in thought. Okay? Now, there are 3 agents of action as laid out by the Gita. Thoughts, speech, and action. Physical action. As I said, physical action, most of us don't have a huge problem with this. Maybe we eat too much chocolate. Maybe we do something that we probably shouldn't be doing in the sense of sleeping too much, not doing sadhana, not doing our work to the best of our abilities, blah, blah, blah. But this isn't terrible. It's not good, but it's not terrible. We don't have to be too tough on ourselves for this kind of stuff, yeah? Chocolate tastes good, beds feel good. Whatever. Words. Yeah, maybe we're rude to somebody at some point. We say something we don't, like, we regret. Just go to the person and say sorry. And these things tend to find themselves a solution. Yeah. Of course, try to regulate your speech. But again, it's not the end of the world. Your thoughts are much more dangerous. Because in the realm of thought, you don't feel the need to go and apologize to anyone. If I have a bad thought about you, I'm not going to go to you and say, I just want to tell you, yesterday I had a bad thought about you and I want to apologize. People look at you going, okay. Why are you apologizing to me for your thoughts? It didn't affect me. You didn't say anything to me. I'm fine. But that's not true. It does affect the person. They just don't know it. And it affects you. And you don't know it as much as you should. Because Guruji actually says in his commentaries to this in the Gita that the thought is actually the most powerful of the 3. Okay. Well, it's also the most neglected of the 3. In this ashram, to live here, you have to follow certain rules. Yeah? Rules of behavior. Rules of speech. You can't be abusive to people. You can't be physically abusive to people. But there's no rule that you can't be abusive to people in your thoughts. This is true. And so there are easy ways by which we as a collective regulate our actions and our words. But there's no way that we regulate our thoughts. This doesn't exist. So I promise you, you go around and you ask the residents, when was the last time you punched a fellow resident? They'll say, I never did such a thing, never. When was the last time you told a resident that they are an asshole? Oh, maybe once, but I wouldn't do such things. When was the last time you thought somebody was an asshole? Maybe every day. Yeah? This is what I mean. You see how obviously more dangerous and more common and more unthought of is the realm of thought. We just don't consider its impact nowhere near as much as we do the other two, and yet it's the most powerful one. So how do you fix this? How do you change anything? It all starts with acceptance. What does acceptance mean? Well, it means acknowledgement. What does acknowledgement mean? It means that you recognize it and you face it, whether it's comfortable or not. And I'm telling you, this is all you have to do. You know what most people do in their lives? Sorry to go on for so long, but whatever, this is an important point. What problem most people do in their lives is that they try to find some form of a drug. I don't mean drugs in the sense of actual physical drugs. Many things can be drugs for us, okay? Something to dilute our consciousness about what's really going on inside of us. We don't want to see who we really are on the material level. Forget soul. I'm not talking about soul. I'm talking about our character, our personality, our other side of our coin. We don't want to maybe see the arrogance that we have, or the nastiness that we think about certain people, the laziness we have, whatever, negative qualities we have. We don't want to be confronted with that because it's uncomfortable, it's hard. And so what do? You seek things that numb your awareness so that you don't have to be confronted by this on a day-to-day basis. What are some of those things? Friendships, relationships, nice physical locations, nice physical belongings, hobbies, sports, food, drink, movies, music, having fun in general, anything which can occupy my mind sufficiently so that it doesn't have enough time and awareness to see what's going on. Last night, the residents had a get-together. Sangha activity, residents come together, right? And it was quite comedic, right? We had some funny things, some funny videos, and some funny stuff being played. And I looked around, everybody laughing. It was, you know, good vibes. Then people start singing together, and you can hear them from the lobby. I had to go to the lobby to take a phone call, and you hear them in there, woo, woo, wah, woo, having a great time. And I'm just thinking to myself, ever the cynic, I'm a very cynical, pessimistic person. I'm sitting there thinking, yeah. You're laughing and celebrating today. Tomorrow you go back to thinking that my neighbor's an asshole. And this is the drug, though. And maybe it's the drug we needed last night, to have a laugh together and to be together in that family feeling. But if you can't maintain it today, then what was the point of it? And the reason I say this is not that we shouldn't therefore do it. It's that you have to be confronted with the reality. And the reality is, perhaps you don't feel family. And it's not going to be a get-together where you have a laugh together that's going to solve it. That's just going to make that feeling go away for an hour. That's what I mean by drugs. You do something to make the negative feeling go away, but it's not a permanent solution to that negative feeling. And we do this all the time. You're feeling bad, what do? Maybe you go and do your sadhana. Let me do my japa, let me do my kriya, let me do my puja, and I'll stop feeling bad. Right? But this is, even that mentality is doing sadhana as a drug. Just to numb what I'm feeling that's negative. My question is, when do we just look at that negative feeling, look at that negative thought, fully look at it in the mirror, acknowledge it, make your peace with it, accept it, and then say, what are we going to do about you? To fix you permanently, not to pretend you're not there. What are we going to do to change you and not to make me just forget you're not there for a day? And that is the real difference between somebody who is truly spiritual and somebody who is not. And it has nothing to do with where they are, how they're dressed, or the activities they're doing. Because I just told you, you could be doing your japa, your puja, living in an ashram, but not having that mentality of looking at the problem and just coasting through. And so the problem with that is that it's very misleading to judge somebody's real spiritual level. Because you can see somebody who's living at the ashram here for 15 years, doing all the right things, but you go and talk to them deep inside and they'll tell you how miserable they feel. And you go, how come? If you've been doing this for so long. And the answer is because you've been doing it for the wrong reasons and in the wrong way. You're doing this hoping that this will make the problem go away. You're not actually looking at the problem and trying to solve it. It's like, to make you a comparison, imagine somebody made a pill that if you swallow, it makes you intelligent for 5 hours, right? So what do? Every time you need to be intelligent, you take the pill. But what happens after 5 hours passes? So the real solution is just study, learn, and become permanently intelligent, right? But that's not what we do. We want the 5-hour intelligence. It's the same thing I'm trying to point out here. How about learning to be happy? How about learning to be without fear? Learning to be beyond illusion? Because that's what Krishna references. I will read you the verse again so that we go back full circle. He says, by refraining, by stopping from a particularly sinful or materialistic activity, and I'm focusing on thoughts right now, one becomes freed from its bondage. Such renunciation, in this case, therefore, renunciation of thought, is the basis of religious and auspicious life for human beings and drives away all suffering, all illusion, and all fear. It's until you renounce the problem, you renounce the thing that is causing you the problem, meaning you completely separate yourself from it, you let go of it, you release it, that the actual effects of that problem, like fear, illusion, attachments, then they go away. It's not when you cover it with something else that they go away. It's when you get rid of it. So when somebody asks me, how do I stop having negative thoughts about somebody? The answer is, stop having negative thoughts about someone. As wild as that sounds, just stop doing it. And the way it happens is because you want it to happen. I want to stop having negative thoughts about this person. If I want it, then what will I do? I will start to understand, why am I having negative thoughts about this person? And I will look at that and I will try to change that. I will not just superficially try to think positive things about them, because that's just covering up. It's not removing. I'm not removing the negative thoughts about you. I'm just adding some positive ones on top. But you see how that's a problem? Because at any moment, the negative thoughts that I have not removed, or the cause of those negative thoughts that I have not solved, can just throw up those negative thoughts again, and I'm back to square one. And I will feel unmotivated. I will feel like I have made no progress in my spirituality, and then I will fall into a sort of depression. And that happens so often. So many devotees who come and say, I feel sad and depressed because I see no progress. The same things that upset me 2 years ago upset me today. The same obstacles I had 5 years ago, I still have today. And I'm telling you why. Because you're just putting the solution on top of the problem. You're not removing the problem and replacing it with a solution. This is the issue. And to remove the problem means to fully embrace it, accept it, acknowledge it. This is always the first and most important step to any real transformation. You have to believe you're sick before you convincingly take the medicine. So Guruji tells me, Revati, you know you're arrogant, right? For the longest time, I denied it. Oh, this is Guruji's leelas. Like some psycho person that just doesn't want to acknowledge what is obvious because it's uncomfortable. It means I have to change. I don't want to change. Life's great. I love myself. For the bad too, right? So therefore, change what? And it's so wonderful because we have that amazing option in our pocket always, which is, Guruji didn't mean it. It's just Leela. When it suits us, right? And then when he says, Revati, you're amazing, but then it's not Leela, it's just facts. What do you mean Leela? This is the ultimate truth. Satyam has been manifest right now. He has revealed the true nature of things. You are blind to see it. You are an illusion. You are in the Leela. Right? This is how we play the game. But when will the truth really manifest? When I accept not only the good, but the bad too. So when he says to me, I'm arrogant, I go, yes. And why, Guruji? Let me find out why. Because you don't value other people enough, Revati. Ah, okay. So that's the cause. So how do I solve this? By learning to see the value in other people. Then I will be less arrogant. What is another cause? He has shown me. These are things he has shown me. I'm not speculating. Because Guruji, he shows much more than he tells. Right? You know this. He'll give you experiences where something becomes obvious to you if you're willing to see. He's not going to sit you down and say, okay, so like a psychiatrist, psychologist, let's look at your problems. Okay, problem number 1, this is the root cause. Problem number 2, this is the root cause. Thank you very much. I'll see you next week. No. He'll give you an experience that will expose something, and if you're willing to see it, you'll see it. And if you're not willing, if you're just in the process of taking drugs and covering up the problem, you will just call it a million things. Maya, circumstances. He didn't mean it. He only meant it one time, but he didn't mean it the second time. All kinds of things we will come up with, and you'll justify it to yourself because that's the druggy mentality. I cannot and I will not face the truth. I prefer the lie. So the second thing he showed me, in addition to not valuing people, was that I had a misunderstanding of where my good qualities came from. So what I thought to be mine and my achievements that I was very proud of, my intellect, my closeness to Guruji, the amount of responsibility that had been given to me, in my mind, I harbored an idea that these things had been achieved by me, that I had accomplished these things by my abilities, by my dedication, etc., etc. So when he then gives me an amazing experience to show that all of these things were an absolute gift from him and nothing else, and they can therefore be removed at any moment, the natural consequence comes, then what is there to be proud of? If the things that I have that I consider to be great were a gift from someone else, and it's not something that I've particularly worked towards having. So then imagine feeling proud of something that you were given. Right? So by showing me this, not telling me this, he has given me another root cause of my arrogance, which was a misunderstanding as to the origin of who I am and what I've become. Right? And by looking at those things, I believe it is up to his judgment, but I believe that the degree of arrogance reduces exponentially. Now, I may still be a highly sort of confident person, and this may be often misconstrued as arrogance. That's up to you and up to him to decide. I don't know. But I certainly, when I look in the mirror, feel myself very different to what I did at that time, when he was telling me to my face, you are arrogant. And this is what I'm talking about. You have to be willing to see, and you have to be willing to change that root thing. If you cannot do that, you may be on this path for 20 years, for 50 years, nothing will change. So I hope that that overall picture has been painted clearly enough. The idea I'm putting across is this. There are things you shouldn't be doing. To not do them, the solution is not do other good things and hope that those things will go away. It's accept the bad you're doing, try to find out the root of why you're doing it, and eradicate it, remove it, correct it. And to do that, Krishna says 2 things in the Bhagavad Gita. This is the final thing. One thing you should do, understand why it's not good to do it. If you don't understand and believe it, you will never stop doing it. You cannot trick your own mind. You cannot trick your own belief. If you don't actually think this is bad, then you won't stop. Yeah? And second, physically remove yourself from the situations in which you would normally do those things. For example, stopping to smoke. I'll end there again, that example. You have to believe it's bad for you. And second, you have to stop buying the cigarettes. It might seem obvious, but don't do it. So similarly, with any other problem you may have, A, mentally understand why you should stop to do it. Second, physically refrain from engaging in those things under all circumstances. Do not be so arrogant as to think Maya cannot touch you. Even a football game has been banned because that might tempt us back into Maya. Imagine then all the other things in our lives that may do it. You have to be smart. and you have to be awake to the problem. Jai Gurudev.